Pull-ups are hard enough without having to layer on a height component to them, but if you do have a goal to add height to your pull-ups, how do we go about doing that? Do we just do the same exercises that allowed us to learn how to pull up in the first place? Today we'll be talking about all of this and more, but as part of this discussion I'll be assuming that you can already perform standard pull-ups, and not only this, train them in a way that promotes good form and puts tension in all the right muscles that we want to work. There's no point in going for height over the bar if we can't get to the bar in the first place. And let's be clear about what I mean by high pull-ups. The question of how to pull more explosively is usually placed within the context of getting our first muscle up. So when we discuss high pull-ups today, we're going to be talking about getting the chest at least to the bar. A feat I feel is far more achievable than the pull to the waistline beast that you see on Instagram. And the very first thing we'll need to be doing is conditioning our shoulders. Scapular positioning is everything in calisthenics. The foundation we set ourselves on is the base from which all our other strength flows, and if this base is not solid, we'll struggle to realize our full strength. And not even that we'll struggle, our body literally won't allow us to. You could have the biggest lats in the world, but if you've got poor scapular control and poorly positioned shoulders, you'll not be able to drive the force we need through them in order to do high pull-ups. This is one reason why you see many bodybuilding monsters struggle to do even standard pull-ups. And an exercise I love for scapular conditioning is scapular circles. Anybody that has ever incorporated these into their training will understand just how underrated this exercise is. By rotating the scapula through elevation, retraction, depression, and protraction, we prime this area for solid pulling work. A regression of this is the standard scapular pull-up, where we simply move through scapular elevation and scapular depression. I would advise that we also condition our shoulder flexion range too, as the better control we have over our overhead mobility, the easier it will be to display strength in this range. We also need to ask ourselves if we're even pulling correctly to achieve high pull-ups. By pulling past the clavicle, we're not only pulling up, but subtly pushing down. This means that the traditional pull-up, where we aim to get the chest to the bar while observing the extension of our thoracic spine, simply won't cut it. Pushing down from here would essentially just turn this into some weird front lever exercise, which isn't what we're looking to achieve. The hollow body pull-up fixes this problem. By having the elbows out in front of us, this puts us into a more mechanically advantageous position to get the elbows further back, allowing for more height. The huge caveat that I'll throw out here though is that we should only really start working on our hollow body pull-ups once we have a really truly firm grasp on our arch back pull-ups. This is because the larger back muscles, the lats, the traps, the rhomboids, are all worked in arch pull-ups in a way that simply are not worked with hollow bodies. And we need these muscles to be globally strong in order to generate pulling power. This form of pull-up also means that we'll need to create far more tension to maintain that hollow body throughout the rep. But this slightly extra layer of complexity will allow us to reap the benefits of a more efficient pull-up. When we want to pull high and explosive, we simply cannot afford to waste energy flailing about. And a progression that really helped me master the hollow body pull-up are variations of the L-sit pull-up. By having the legs out in front of us, we have no choice but to maintain this tension. Depending on our abilities, a tucked variation may be better, but in terms of working towards a truly controlled hollow body pull-up, this is where it's at. Once we've achieved competency with hollow body pull-ups though, we need to be spending more time in that top position. And if this means scaling the movement down with bands or isometrics, then so be it. No point in smashing out high reps of pull-ups if you end the set finishing like this. Fewer reps for higher quality is how we're going to build up to this. Strength is gained through the range trained, and if we want to build up to explosive high pull-ups, we need to be training explosively and highly. We need to be pulling higher. And here's the kicker. We don't actually need to be pulling objectively fast. Let me explain. Not all muscle fibers are made the same. We have type 1 slow twitch fibers associated with endurance low intensity work, type 2A fibers called upon during moderate intensity work, and type 2X fast twitch fibers, which are designed for short bursts of highly explosive training. And so it would make sense that we need to call upon our type 2X fibers for explosive pulling, but these muscle fibers are extremely stubborn. Because of the energy drain they place on the body, we can only recruit type 2X fibers after first exhausting type 1 and type 2A fibers beforehand. But this can be hacked by placing a sudden and very immediate need for our body to deliver high payloads of energy. This is the idea behind the Henneman size principle, and is why if we want to get better at being explosive, it is of paramount importance that we train with the intention of generating power, even if it might not look like it. When you first try explosive pulling, you may feel and look like you've got an anvil attached to your waist. But having explosiveness as a target in our heads is how we recruit the motor units to become more powerful over time. Now, a question you might be having is where weighted pull-ups comes in all of this. After all, it would make sense that if we can lift 20 kilos, we should be able to throw around 2 kilos like it's nothing. And this is true. Power, after all, is strength times speed, and so strength must be considered in our training. The way I think about it is that we have our overall pull-up capacity made up of the total number of reps we can do as well as our 1 rep max. We then have power that sits as a component of these things. By increasing our capacity, we increase our potential for power, but training for speed is a specific goal, and so we'll still need to do something in order to realize that power potential. So if high pull-ups are a goal of yours and you can already hit 10 to 15 standard pull-ups, then by all means add weight. But our body weight is already a significant load, and the intent for speed and power is going to matter way more for explosive pulling than just increasing our pull-up 1 rep max. After all, you don't train for a sprint by walking slowly with a backpack full of bricks. There isn't a reason why we can't train both though, and so if you want to see how I break down my training to not only increase my power output but also increase my reps and strength as well, then check out this video right here.